And the Celtics and Bruins, both favorites to win their respective titles. We put out a Twitter poll asking which team faces more pressure to win it all. The results actually might surprise some people. 59.4% of you responded the Celtics have more pressure. Only 40.6% of you said the Bruins. All right, welcome into Arbella Early Edition. Trenni Casey here alongside Perry Marc Bertrand from 98.5 The Sports Hub. Who's got more pressure? Do you agree with the people? Phil, is it the Celtics?
Well, typically I am a man of the people. I think this is a great poll question to whoever created the poll question today because I think it is. I think it's difficult. This is a difficult one to come up with because on the one hand, the Celtics should win the title. On the other, if the Bruins don't win it this year, that might be it for a long time. So for me, it's the Bruins because you have to be all in. You have to get it this year. This is the last dance, in my opinion. I think the trade that they executed really shows us they feel that it's the last dance. So, Beetle, I would vote Bruins in this poll.
Yeah, it sounds like we've got some Zolak and Bertrand listeners in the house from earlier today when we phrased it a little differently and said, for which team is it a bigger disaster if they don't win? And this is why I agree with Phil. It's a bigger disaster for the Bruins if they don't win this because this is viewed as the last kick at the can. This is everybody coming back. It's getting Krejci back. It's getting Bergeron to commit to being back. And if they don't win, what's their future? It's murky. If the Celtics don't win, what's the future? We try and do it again next season. And everybody's here and everybody's on board. And we've got young talent. And there's a long future ahead of us. There is not a long future ahead of the Bruins. They've got to try and win this now. They're built to try and win it now. Their approach was to win it now. And the deadline moves that you just mentioned, Trenni, we're all about going for it right now. So the pressure should be more on them.
So I'm a little bit more with the people. I think it's the Celtics because the Celtics were this close to winning it last year. And the Bruins, quite frankly, guys, at the beginning of the year, we were like, they might be a little more competitive, but this might just be a nice send-off for Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, and they'll come and they'll get to the postseason. Like, to me, they're playing with house money. No one ever expected the Bruins to be in this position. And the core of that group, they're Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who I would say are probably Patrice Bergeron and maybe Brad Marchand or David Krejci. They've won it already. They already have a Stanley Cup. This group is still trying to get its first, and they're expected. The Celtics are expected to win. So for them not to win would be a disappointment. If the Bruins right now were sitting in third or fourth, we'd be like, yeah, that's about where we expected them to be.
That's fair. I would just say the window for the Celtics is flung wide open. 100%. And it is going to be open for years to come. I mean, every single year, they're going to be in the conversation as long as they have those two guys that are running that team right now, and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. The Bruins window is it just cracked just a smidge, and that thing is coming shut. I think this offseason, because I think the biggest factor, Beatles, that David Pastrnak's probably not going to be back next offseason. That's how I feel about it right now.
Okay.
Because I think something would have gotten done if it was going to get done, and the price is only getting up, and the Bruins have probably drawn a line in this. I just don't see it happening. So try to win it now with one of your best players likely to leave in a few months.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks about that team beyond this year. So I do think that they should have the pressure. And I also think you're minimizing just a little bit what a second title means for the legacies of some of those players.
Sure.
Okay? And so the second one sort of validates the first one because they've been back there twice since and weren't able to win it. And so if they were able to sort of bookend the era by winning it multiple times, I think that means a lot for those guys all time.
I mean, I think you could almost say it's equal then, right? Because what if the Celtics get back and they fail in that position again? Like, it's one thing to keep getting there, but to not be able to cash in, like, that's why I feel like there's pressure on the Celtics right now. Because I especially think for Jason Tatum, he's trying to prove that he is actually one of the league's best players, and the league's best players win titles.
But he will still be one of the league's best players if they get to the finals and lose. And he will be one of the league's best players again next year and the year after that. And they are so young. These two guys are so young, and they are going to be able to stay together for so long because now you have the opportunity, in all likelihood, to be able to give Jaylen Brown that max contract to keep them together for a long time. I think they have the ability to have the kind of run that the guys out in Golden State have had.
Let's be positive. How about 2 titles? So we had another poll. We had another poll today that I voted in, and it was how many titles are going to be won, and I clicked 2 because I think they legitimately could both win a title, and they're going to be like, I think also both Game 7s. My producer Sarah Cordero today, I think, said that both Game 7s could happen on June 18th. How do you have 2 parades, guys, when your seasons end in the same day? Could you imagine the melee in Boston, back-to-back rolling rallies?
Could you cross sports and parades?
No.
No,
Could you do
everybody,
that?
no.
Something that would
That is
really,
sacrilege.
of course, that would be horrible. No, you got to give everybody their proper time. Asking for 2, though, feels like that feels like an exclusively
asking
Boston
for it.
conversation.
You
It
win,
feels like first
you
class
get a
problem.
parade. Those are the rules, Phil. We didn't make up the rules. Those are long-established rules before you or I were even born. We got to stick to the rules if they both win.
Yeah, you
There's
got
not another city in the country that looks at it and says, what if we could win 2 championships?
Multiple days
this
off.
year?"
You know?
It is. Hey, they're the best teams in their leagues, Trenni. So you
Right,
might
and
be
they're
onto
both front runners right now, so there's no reason that maybe
Why
we
not?
couldn't have 2 summer parades. Aperol spritzes for everybody.